everyone, it's Natasha Tottie Weston, entrepreneur, content creator, and 3 times best-selling author. Let's scratch the titles. I'm just the girl next door. If you follow me on social media, you know I'm all about being an open book, bringing current events from the real world and my world to the table to give my sisters from other misters insight, wisdom, and real talk about life, business, and all that other ish. The reason I created Table Talk with Tottie is because I spent the last decade mostly online talking to people, more specifically millennial women all around the world, about the ups and downs that come with building a brand, being a mom, and having a personal life. And what I eventually realized was that we all have many of the same questions, curiosities, and challenges. So here we are. On the Table Talk with Tottie podcast, we'll laugh, we'll cry, and I'm pretty sure we'll be pouring it up together on many occasions. It's about time that you got a relatable, unapologetic view on life as a creative living in the 21st century. On this show, you'll hear from some of my close friends, family, and guests that I've learned a thing or two from over the last decade. Get ready for some ahas, mm-hms, and yes, girls, because at this table, nothing, and I mean nothing, is off limits. Be sure to subscribe to the Table Talk with Tottie podcast right now on Apple Podcasts, and don't forget to leave a rating and review. All right, you ready?
Yes, let's go.
Welcome to the Table Talk with Tottie podcast, guys. We are in for a treat today because we have a very special returning guest who happens to be one of the most sought after travel nurse and online entrepreneur experts, Miss Meisha Amia, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to try and put like some cheers in the background.
Yes.
Hey, Meisha, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Thank you so much for coming through to hang with us today. How's it going?
It's going good. And you know what? Second time's a charm. I'm excited to be back. I have so much fun when I'm with you. So I'm looking forward to this combo.
Me too. I always look forward to talking to you. But now, if you're a Table Talk with Tottie OG, then you already know who Meisha Amia is. Not just on the podcast, but she's also been on Tottie Tonight, you guys. So watch our episode. It was like one of the best conversations of 2020.
Lit.
Hands down. So y'all go back and check that out. But for our first time listeners, let me just put it like this. If travel nursing and online entrepreneurship were a person, it would definitely be Meisha. Hands down. But I'm going to let you tell it, Meisha. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
Hi, guys. I am Meisha Amia, the author of The Bedside Boss from Scrubs to Six Figures. It's the only book for travel nurses by a travel nurse. It teaches them how to become a six-figure travel nurse, how to monetize our skill set. I am also the founder of Chicks with Checks. I started out on IG. I'm like an OG Instagrammer. I started out blogging on IG and Tumblr, okay? Tumblr, y'all. And later turned into running and operating my own digital branding company called Chicks with Checks, where I help nurses and entrepreneurs build their online presence. And beyond that, I'm just many things. I'm also a creative strategist. I help create dope communities, dope people, dope events, and I'm a co-creator of the Nurse Power Network. So I put all my creativity up in there. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's it. I'm also a rich auntie, by the way. I'm a rich auntie.
Very rich auntie, might I add, y'all. She is like, if I could go back, she would definitely be my auntie, like a handpicked one.
Yes, rich auntie.
So,
shout out to the rest of the rich aunties. So
exactly. Meisha is like the ringleader of the rich aunties, FYI. So today I invited Meisha back on the podcast for a few reasons. First, it's a new year, which means, in my opinion, there's no better time than to consider the idea of either getting or becoming a mentor. Second, in case you guys didn't know, February is National Mentoring Month. So when I found out about that, I said, oh, I got to get Meisha on the show. Because, of course, you know, it's new year, new me, new year, new everything. And I think a lot of people are kind of hitting the reset button, which I applaud. Because even hitting the reset button is, you know, it takes a lot of courage in decision making to do that. So I think now is a good time to seek mentorship if that's something that you're interested in. And then for the obvious reason, who better to have on the show to have a conversation about the power of mentorship, particularly the form of mentorship groups such as the ones Meisha has created with Chicks with Checks and the Nurse Power Network, as she just shared. But before we get started, you guys, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. And after you've listened to our conversation today, go back and check out the last episode that Meisha was on, and go back and check out all past episodes at tabletalkwithtottie.com. The information and all of that will be down in the description. So let's go ahead and dive right into this conversation because, I know you're busy, Meisha, and we actually have a busy day. We're doing a clubhouse
Yes.
co-hosting. Meisha is hosting the room, and Candace and I are co-hosting. So we got a busy day and a lot to cover. But I think before we can dive into the specifics of mentorship, it's important to understand your journey in this area. I believe everyone who has sought a mentor or has provided some level of mentorship to others has some type of mentorship story. So, Misha, can you remember when you first started exploring the idea of mentorship? And can you tell us kind of from both sides? So, when did you first identify that you needed a mentor? How did you discover them? And then can you also switch gears and tell us the moment you realized that you needed to start Chicks with Checks?
So for me, I'm gonna go way back to high school, guys, because I think mentorship just happens at a very young age. Even if we don't realize it, we need mentors. And as we evolve into our adulthood, right, we kind of start thinking, okay, what do I want to be when I grow up, right? We hear that as a little kid, our whole childhood, what I want to be. So when you get in that high school space, you really have to start connecting. Okay, what do I want to be? What do I want to do, right? And you start looking up to people. So when I think about mentorship and how it became a thing for me to need a mentor, it started when I was young, in like high school, 16, 17, and realizing that I wanted to hang up my dreams of becoming a creative. Go figure, I still became a creative. That's a long story for a whole nother day. To making the decision, it is to making a decision that I wanted to become a nurse. I had a nurse in my family. And so I looked up to her, and honestly, I just went to her and let her know my goals and my dreams of becoming a women's health nurse. And I wanted her support, her guidance, and her advice. And it was just from that moment that I started to understand what mentorship was, because that was the first person I had went to, and they actually gave me real tangible things to do in return, right? It's different than just a pat on the back. It's actually saying, okay, here's what you need to do if you want to do this. And I am telling you because I've done it.
Right.
That's what it was for me to discover, you know, getting a mentor, what it was like to be on that side of the world, needing a mentor. So while you
Right.
guys have seen me become a nurse entrepreneur, I've had mentors in my corner to help me get here.
Got you. So, at what point did you realize that Chicks with Checks was necessary for you to leave?
All right, guys. I've been a hustler, right? Let me just start this off because these are long stories, but I'm gonna try to keep them tight. So I was a hustler up from like the moment I realized nursing just was paying the bills, but it was not giving me rich auntie vibes. I needed something else. Nursing was cute, but I was like, no, I need rich auntie vibes. What am I gonna do? So that's when I got into travel nursing, and I got into entrepreneurship. I actually started travel nursing and my side gig life around the same time. I was a I was a vacation planner. I was a freelance PR. I was a scrapbooker. I had all kinds of little side gigs just to make extra money. Um, and in the process of doing that, I was gaining an influx of nurses reaching out to me via Instagram, Tumblr, and Facebook, because these were places where I was blogging. Remember, I was a blogger. So I was blogging and sharing my side hustle, sharing my travel nurse adventure, the whole shebang. The influx of nurses started to come, and the message kind of went like, you really inspire me. I really want to do more with my career, and this is just not enough. I hope to one day be brave enough to show up in other areas of the world like you have and tap into other things. And I started getting that a lot.
Yeah.
And then I started getting the, can you help me? I don't want to just do this. I want to do something else and I want more money. Can you help me? And the influx got so overwhelming that the freelance PR that I was doing in Atlanta, which was extremely well, I created such a big brand for myself in Atlanta. While doing freelance PR, I eventually told my PR friends, like, I'm getting ready to close the doors on this because God is pulling me in another direction. And at that time, they were like, well, what's that? I was like, there's this women's empowerment thing that's going on, right? I know it sounds crazy, but I'm going to have to do it for nurses. I feel that my tribe is calling me and I have to show up for them. So that's how it started.
Wow. Incredible. Well,
And
I'm glad you ended up calling, and I know all the people that are in Chicks with Checks are thankful as well. So when it comes to mentorship, I feel like when some people hear the word, they automatically translate it into, like you mentioned earlier, somebody who just had you back or free or front row access to a person of high caliber. From my personal experience, some of my mentors over the year have literally come through one, my desire to learn more about a particular industry, or two, my wanting to help or contribute to someone that I looked up to in a way that maybe nobody else was at that time. My thoughts are it's all about the intent and the approach. So I remember my first two mentors. Shout out to Monique Jackson and Keita Williams. They they were in the public relations industry. I'm not quite sure they are anymore because they're doing a lot more. But those were my first two mentors. I remember after I left New York, pursuing a fashion styling career, I just kind of stumbled into public relations. Those were like my early days. And
didn't we all?
like that was like the easy thing. So
Right?
So I remember this is when like Twitter first started like really jumping off, and I follow Moita because in my mind, if I had to get a mentor, if I had to look up to anyone, one, I wanted it to be two Black women who were really making strides and were standing out from other publicists at the time. And for me, that was Mo and Keita. So I followed them on Twitter. So right, I had an intent, but it's just approaching them by sliding their DMs, saying, "Hey, can you mentor me?" Because people do that. Like they think that's the way, right? I didn't do that. I had to think about my approach. So I followed them for a while before we actually were able to connect. At the time, they were doing Define Your Pretty, which was like a women's empowerment thing. And they had a line of hair tools, and they were getting ready to do this whole like rollout, and they were looking for interns, but they weren't just allowing anyone to apply. You had to pretty much go through a process, and it was like a process of elimination. Well, I ended up in the last 10, and those were the 10 that decided to like mentor. And I just remember like just doing the assignments that they were giving us and really using that as a form of mentorship as opposed to just like always sliding their DMs and asking them things. So for me being an intern was me contributing to what they were trying to do. And I was also able to learn and obviously, build a relationship with them. So long story short, they flew to Atlanta for Bronner Brothers one year. And because I was in the closest city to Atlanta, they invited me to come out. And I was able to hang with them at the show, go to dinner with them. And to this day, matter of fact, I just DM'd Keita this morning about something. We still have a relationship. Guys, that was over 10 years ago at this point. So I say all of that to say that, would you say, Meisha, that there are rules to seeking out a mentor nowadays? And like, how should somebody go about reaching out to a mentor or seeking mentorship?
I wouldn't say there's rules, honestly, because we're in a digital world. Sliding in the DM is so appropriate.
Right.
Like I've had people slide in my DM on behalf of their children, guys. Like literally, like people will slide in my DM like, "Hey, my daughter's in nursing school. I've been following you, and I think she will be, great under your wing. Are you able to help her? What can I do to connect y'all?"
Right.
And typically what I do in that situation is I give them my personal cell phone number, and just tell them, tell them to text me or call me,
Right.
so that we can build this rapport and I can see exactly what direction they're going in.
Right, exactly.
So I don't think there's rules though. I think that sliding in the DM is fine. I think personally texting and calling is fine.
Mhm.
I mean, when I think about mentorship, I literally think about free guidance. Like, so some people have paid mentor programs, but I don't
Yeah.
do that really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, like you said now, because like, of course, when that happened with me, that was years ago. So it was totally different then. But like you said, now the DMs are where we communicate. I do still think that there needs to be some thought into it and not just, can you be my mentor? Like, have some type of maybe goal in working with that person or reaching out to them, just so that, because I mean, imagine if 50 million people were DMing you about
Yes.
mentorship. Obviously, as one human being, you didn't have the capacity. So I do think that when we're seeking mentors, we need to do our due diligence before reaching out, just to make
Yes.
sure that, for one, this is somebody that would be able to guide us based on the goals that we've set. And just, having some type of thought process, because most mentors are gonna, they're not gonna just pat you on the back. So you want to make
No.
sure that you and that person have potential to be, some type of fit. So again, when I think of mentorship, I think of it in levels, because I believe that your individual goal in the form of mentorship that you're seeking out. Some of us need one-on-one mentor, like Meisha just mentioned, a text call relationship, you know.
Yes. And I will do that for nurses. Let me just say that. But when it comes to the business realm, that's my nursing student realm. But for my business people, I'm sorry, we cannot be on text level, simply because the capacity. Like, I have a whole community. I could not deal with that.
Yeah, like you guys think Chicks with Checks is over 10,000 women.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no,
It's way too many.
you could have a one-on-one relationship with each person. And
Mm-mm.
so when you're reaching someone like Meisha, it is important to stand out, because
Yes.
DMs are so accessible, because most of us read our DMs.
Yeah.
And you imagine 10,000 of these women DMing Meisha. For one, she gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
And two, it's hard to vet out who's serious and who's not, because her time is so precious. Like, she has to pour into so many people.
That's
So,
it.
yeah, so I think having there's some people that need that one-on-one, and I think you've been in this long enough to identify who those people are. And then there's some people that need
Yes.
Chicks with Checks or Nurse Power Network, a more group of collaborative
Mhm.
mentorship style. So, I mean, do you have any more thoughts on how to identify what your mentoring style is, or do you just kind of like jump into something and see if it flows?
I typically tell people who come to me to identify their learning style first. And I say that because, like you said, it's an equal working relationship. So when you seek a mentor, you have to be ready to do your part. You have to be able to identify what's your learning style. Like, are you a one-to-one, like you just said? Can you learn with a group of, a bunch of people? Will that work for you? Or do you need, okay, Meisha, I need you to sit here, I need you to, work me through this, because I cannot comprehend it in a group setting. That's what I think of, when I identify with mentorship, is you guys actually being able to identify what style of worker you are, because you've got work to do. When you go to a mentor, you've got to fulfill, whatever they advise you on, whatever they recommend you, whatever stories they share. A lot of times, mentoring too is just about interpreting, comprehending what
Yeah,
they're telling you. Because with mentorship, it can be a little different from coaching. They may not give you step by step. My
right,
mentors, my mentors actually don't give me step by step. How I learn from my mentors is from them pouring into me, telling me what they've been through, and I am actually able to comprehend
right.
how to move.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that's important. You hit on a lot of really important steps. Number one, learning styles. I didn't think about it like that, but
Mhm.
it does have a lot to do because some people get in group settings like chicks with chicks and they get lost in the sauce.
I got
You
a
know,
few. Look, I got plenty, guys,
got
like
lost
that.
in the sauce.
And I'm like,
But all of the
hello, what are you doing?
right, and like it's like you provide so many resources there. Like if that's not your learning style, you will most definitely get lost in the sauce
Hmm.
because shit is like she kicking the stuff out all day
Yes,
every
it's too much
so
for them to keep up with. You're right. And I actually have to have that authentic conversation with them because the Chicks with Checks main group is free. Then there's the paid VIP side where they exclusively can get that group style of, of learning and do it yourself project. But then I have to really tell them too, when you go into that paid coaching, I'm like, if this is not your learning style, are you willing to invest to reach the learning style you need? Because I can
yeah,
work with you, but then that's a whole nother conversation.
right, because they're really paying for
Yep.
your time. I
Yeah, and they don't realize when people seek out mentorship and when they go to these empowerment communities, they don't realize as the founders we are really one person. And I have to sometimes remind them that like I truly love what I do and I created the community because I want to be able to help as many people as possible.
Mhm.
However, I'm still one person, and there's over 10,000 people in my Facebook community. There's over 15,000 on Instagram. I cannot deal
Yeah,
with each person at a one-to-one level. It's just not going to work. So we have to be flexible in knowing that too when we go to our mentorships, like what style of mentorship they have. I have a community mentorship. And if
right.
that's something you cannot handle, you can invest to have closer working relationships with me. And that's something that you have to consider.
Yeah, and the thing is, the mentors that we're reaching out to, like you and anybody else, we invest.
Yes.
Like we invest in our personal development, our professional development, and I just feel like it's an insult if you aren't willing. Because really, in my opinion, until your mindset is shifted to understand investments, period, you might not even really need to seek a mentor just yet. You might need to work on mindset because what a mentor is going to require of you is going to require some level of investment, whether it's the initial investment to get the mentorship or beyond. And I always go back to you know who Amber Aziza is.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Years ago she said
Love
something that
her.
I never mind. She said there's no need to invest in a $5,000 program if you can't afford the tools that the instructor is going to tell you need to get you from point A to B.
Yep.
The same way. You can seek mentorship, you can reach out to 10 mentors, but when they're ready to work, they're going to require you to do and not just monetary investments, mental investments, spiritual investments, physical investments. It's like a whole thing. And so
It
I
is.
recommend, before you reach out, like really see where you are mentally and figure out, are you really truly ready for the type of mentor that you are seeking? So to the point you were making about you just being one person and you can't possibly do one-on-one with everybody in Chicks with Checks, Nurse Power Network, or whatever, you have a really strong presence and position on social media, Misha. Like I see you post and I'm like, I know that girl is like at work or like what, like
Girl, yes. Be
how is
delivering a baby, talking about,
she
hey,
doing
chicks.
it? So how has social media and technology contributed to the growth with your memberships, with your network, Chicks with Checks or in Nurse Power Network?
The technology, how has it contributed? Oh, God, it's massive. Like, my brand is technology. Like, seriously, like, it's so interesting when I think about becoming a business owner and becoming an entrepreneur. I never thought I would become a entrepreneur.
Right.
But thanks to technology and thanks to me, I guess being one of those millennials who just came in, right, and just had their way with this digital technology, I created something. I created something magical. And honestly, what really happened is I won't say it's just the technology, it's the ability to create as an artist, right? And that's why I said as a child, I always knew I was an artist. I knew I was, right? I just needed the right tool and the right opportunity. And that was Instagram and Tumblr for me. That just did it. I was like, oh, a new toy. And so it changed the game for me. And it allowed me to create these communities with a massive tribe and influence just because I was able to be in a space of creating and technology. It was just a bridging of the gap. Like honestly, like before Instagram, I was using scraps and paint and tie dye and stuff at home and messing up my mama's house. So like, so it was always there. I just needed to bridge the gap, and I do believe that when people think about influence and creating impact, like it's not something that you intentionally do. It's just in you. It's just there, and I am so grateful because I never imagined I'd be an entrepreneur or I'd build this digital company, but I always knew I was a creative, and I always knew I had something different to offer.
For sure. Well, I see how, I mean, really from the beginning of this year alone to now, like just to see the growth with your communities is just really inspiring. And like it goes to show that really, if you're open to it, anything you have your hands in, if you really leverage social media and technology, you can reach so much more people. Like,
yes,
so much more. And like,
it's
even
scary.
like I seen you on TikTok, and even though TikTok isn't your main thing, you still incorporated. Like I seen you post a TikTok and reels on Instagram. Like that's how you're supposed to use it. Like even if you have an audience on TikTok,
bring it over.
Bring it over. And so I actually took that little nugget,
and
I
so true.
Activated my TikTok yesterday, and I posted the reels from Instagram there, and like
do it. I'm telling you, because my thing is I'm all about repurposing anyway. I tell my the tribe community all the time, I'm like, y'all make this complicated. You actually think you're supposed to recreate everything from scratch? No. And what I like though is what you notice is TikTok is not my audience. I do not even tell them. I just use that space to create the content to bring it to where my tribe is.
Exactly. It's in the same form.
Yep.
It's the same thing.
Yep.
And I just think, and I don't know, Meisha, I think we were just born creatives. And
yes, we were.
Because even with the reels, so like I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, I posted this reel, it did really well. All right, boom. Next month, there's gonna be an email or it's gonna be a blog post on my website. Like, because the truth is with reels, it's like after that first day, they're not really checking for that no more. So why not post it on your website and make it evergreen content? Like, so I just think our brains are wired a little bit different, which is a blessing.
It's a blessing.
Like, it's really a blessing. I really don't take it for granted because
we don't.
We having this conversation, and I know you thinking about 10 things that you can create, and I'm thinking about 15 things that I can create.
Yes, our brains don't stop. It's constant.
It don't ever stop.
Man, it's
at all.
It's a rollie, not a stopwatch, honey.
Facts. Big facts.
It never stops.
Meisha, it was great chatting with you, like always. I think we could talk all day. We was about to, you see, we was gonna go on in that tangent like 2 seconds ago. We was about to be talking about content. About mentorship. But you dropped some gems. You brought some really good insight to us today, and I knew you'd be the perfect person to talk about it. But before we wrap things up, I want to know, because I know a lot of the listeners are probably like, okay, I'm a move forward with either joining a membership, mentoring community, or I'm going to seek a mentor this year. So what are a couple of things that having a mentor done for your personal and your professional growth?
Having a mentor has done several things. For my personal growth, I have a mentor actually that definitely put me on to getting therapy. And I was excited about that. I think we need to bridge the gap between personal and our business growth. And what we don't realize is that when our personal house is not in order, our business house will not be in order. So I will say having a mentor to recognize the things I'm dealing with at home is affecting me. And what that means too, I will say, how it has helped me is me being transparent, right? So when you guys are seeking mentors and you want them to help you get a better job in nursing, you want them to help you start a business, right? You have to be transparent with everything you are dealing with, because ideally the mentor cannot give you true guidance without knowing everything that's going on. And so that's what I will say, how it has helped me. It has helped me personally and business, simply because I was transparent. You know, it allowed me to know that having a therapist is kind of standard as a business owner, right? And I should have one. I never knew that. So if I didn't have a mentor to be in my ears about the normalcy of that, I would have never known. If I didn't have, 7-figure earners like literally telling me like, how do you think I deal with this? I have a therapist and I have CBD. That's another conversation. Okay. And so having a mentor helped me with that. Like if I did not have mentors, guys, I wouldn't have known the interventions to deal with life at this capacity.
Right.
Because this capacity of life, when you are goal chasing and purpose chasing, is stressful and it's very overwhelming.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Like that personal and professional has to have some type of
Yeah, it's a connect. I actually just had what I will say before we wrap this up. I had a client on the phone with me doing a discovery session. She's in my community as a do-it-yourself just paid member, and she says, I think I need more access to you. I know we have everything here to do this, but I just need you for more guidance, custom feedback, and what have you. And then she tells me everything else that's going on, and I realized that she needs to get her house in order, like personal. And I'm like, when you come to me, my expectation is you're ready to roll. So you may want to take the route of getting a life coach, getting your house in order before you come to me to get a brand coach, because the things that I am going to require of you, if your mindset, your confidence, the things you have going on at home is not together, you can't show up online.
Yep. You got that right. And a lot of people won't tell you that. So just the fact that you told her that is like a blessing, because you're right. Like, and I obviously work with clients one-on-one. I see it all the time. It's like, you're right. Like personal and professional have so much in common that's scary. Like even as far as like when you want to start a business, right? You shouldn't be thinking about marketing if you don't even have your business legally.
Yes.
Yet.
Right. It's like, or you think about marketing and I said, well, what are you selling? And you don't even know yet.
So, you can't just jump the gun and skip steps. You got to do the work mentally, spiritually, physically, a whole package deal. And like, you just save yourself so much money, so much time, so much frustration. And of course, we know this because we did it the opposite way. And eventually we learned that, okay, personal has a lot to do with how I perform in my business and how I show up online, offline. It just all has to do with each other. And I second the therapy thing. I think that's a whole nother conversation.
It is, girl. We're going to do that again. We're going to come back.
So many ways now to get therapy. I know I found my therapist through, I think it was betterhelp.com. This is not sponsored, by the way.
Yes.
I want to say it was Taraji did an ad.
I used it. That's actually how I found mine. And I love it. Like we totally text. She's a Black girl. She looks like me. We vibe. Like I got a session set up with her in the next week. But yeah, I love it. Like you have to make those steps. And I am one of those mentors and coaches that I don't want to just take your money. You have no idea how many people have booked my bigger packages and spent thousands of dollars and they ghost me, like totally ghost me, because they got to get their house in order.
Yep.
You ain't really ready for this.
Yep. It's amazing. Well, y'all heard it here first. Meisha just gave y'all some money too and some time, because she just told you make sure you got your personal house in order.
Yes.
Before you move on. So that's the end of our conversation. I could do this all day. Meisha, do you have any parting words for the listeners? And then I also want you to tell us about Chicks with Checks and the Nurse Power Network, and tell us, how we can join if that's something that we're interested in.
Yes, absolutely. So I don't have any major prior words that I want to leave you guys with. I just want you guys to know that importance of seeking a mentor and getting help means you have to just be willing to do the work, and you have to come with transparency. So you want to make sure that the people you seek for mentorship and coaching is actually those that you feel comfortable enough to be transparent with so that they can fully help you transform. Like the goal is to see you reach that transformation, and if you guys are not able to be transparent, we can't help you with that. So the next part was to tell you guys about Chicks with Checks and Nurse Power Network. So Chicks with Checks, like I said, is a digital branding company. We help you guys in a community setting build your online presence, just having access to the community, the accountability that's there as a whole, the resources and the tools is super dope. We have a VIP squad you guys can join. The Nurse Power Network is the place for nurses who really just want to dominate their nurse power and learn how they can better perform in their role as a nurse. You may be seeking career advancement. You may be seeking nurse entrepreneurship. You may be seeking resume and policy advice and guidance. You can get all of that from us at Nurse Power Network. You can go to our Nurse Power Insider and become a member there, where you can have all the access to all the dope nurse power stuff we have.
Awesome. I love it. So I'll put all the information, you guys, in the description. I'll put all of the links to both of Misha's communities. And you guys, make sure you follow her on Clubhouse. Make sure you follow her on Instagram, Twitter. Her handle is the same.
Yes, yes. At Real Meisha Amia.
At Real Meisha Amia. I'll put it down in the description. Meisha is doing some things, y'all, and she's only touched the surface. So hearing her on here before she get real busy. And I want y'all to definitely tap in, even if you're not a nurse. She is a gem just to know. She's a gem just to follow, and she is very transparent. So if you're ready for that life, if you about that life, follow Meisha. I guess that's why we click.
Yes, it is.
But I love you, Meisha. I appreciate you.
Yes, I love you too, sis.
And I'm looking forward to the year and everything that's to come, because we worked this year. Like, we did not slow down. Like,
quarantine was about the work. It was about
period.
it was about being intentional and strategic. I'm grateful for the year.
Me too. I'm very grateful. I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Like,
literally. So thank you again, Meisha, for hanging out with us. Appreciate you. You guys, make sure y'all subscribe. Make sure y'all share this episode. Make sure y'all leave a review. Make sure y'all go comment on Meisha's post. Make sure y'all go show Meisha some love.
Show love, y'all.
Please. And go sign up for Chicks with Checks, the Nurse Power Network. You guys, y'all have to determine which one is best for you, but go check them both out. Meisha, again, I love you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And until our next episode, I'll talk to you guys later.